Kia ora whānau, Gaviscon Gaming here. As of patch 7.0, pre-patch for Legion, the glyph system has been changed dramatically, and I'll be covering this as a series of videos for each class. In these videos, I'll show you how to get them and what they look like. This video is for hunters, and it's going to be a long one. Alright, move to Dalaran as soon as you can. Make sure it's old Dalaran, not new Dalaran. As one thing I found out with pre-patch is the guy you talk to in new Dalaran doesn't seem to want to sell you anything. You find that his name is Brian Landers. He normally sells engineering stuff, and you got a tomb there for the fireworks. Learn it, shoot it, watch it, and get disappointed, just like me. And never use it again. It has a long cast time, and here I am, about to shoot it, and then... woo! Boring as fuck. Alright, now we're going to our second place, Sholazar Basin. And we're looking for the Quartermaster Marden Thunderhoof. Now take a good long look at the name. Don't be like me. Thunderhoof, he has to be a Tauren who couldn't be anything else. I went around looking for ages trying to figure out who it was, and it was one of the last guys I looked for. Silly me. From our hunter vendor we have Fetch, Hunter's Call, Play Dead, and Art of Concealment. Out of these 4 items, only one I've found is useless, and that is the Hunter's Call toy. All 3 of these tomes have a fairly good purpose in terms of both PvP and PvE aspects. Here I am learning the Fetch Glyph. Now, due to being Marksmanship Hunter, you'll need to have a pet, and because I had the Lone Wolf spec and I couldn't change my talents, I've changed to Beast Mastery Hunter just so you guys can see. So the Fetch only works if you've killed something and it's lootable. You can then cast the Fetch spell just like any normal spell, and your pet will go and pick up the item or the loot for you instead of having to go out and find it. As shown in the video, very small cast time, so you can't do it on the move as well, just so you guys know that. Next up we have the Hunter's Call. This is the useless toy that does bugger all. So the Hunter's Call, you call on a random animal companion that represents a random hunter aspect to follow you for 15 seconds. It has a 30-second cooldown. The only way I can see this having any amusement or entertainment value at all would be if you put this in with a macro for your burst perhaps. So whenever you bursted you popped out like a little critter or something like that. Other than that, it's absolutely useless. It's a toy, so it's not going to help you fight. It only lasts for 15 seconds, and it has a 30-second cooldown, and it's always a random animal as well, so you can't even guess what it's going to be, as it will always bring out just a random aspect, or a random critter. And I'll skip the video through showing the random critters that I found as well. And so far, all I've found is just the lizard, the owl, and the cat. Yeah, so by the way, the toy doesn't even work in a macro, so it's even more useless than I thought. Next up is the Play Dead tomb. Now this tomb here is actually really good. Even from a PvP perspective, the one thing that a hunter always struggled with when playing dead and wanting to stay acting dead was the fact that you could always tell who was alive with his pet still running around killing things. But with this Play Dead spell, the pet will also stop attacking and he will pretend to be dead. And this really helps trick the other opponents into thinking that you really are dead, so long as they can't see dot damage coming out of your body because you're actually not dead. If it helps for the people who don't know to do this yet, there's actually a macro that you'll see come up on the screen as well. I decided to make a macro for it, which is just the Play Dead for the pet and also feign death as well. So whenever I feign death, the pet will also feign death. It's common sense for pretty much all hunters. However, if you're new to this and you're just checking this video out, then hey, there you go. There's a new macro for you. And last but not least is the Art of Concealment. This brings on the aspect of the chameleon spell, and what it used to do back in the days, it would stop you from being able to be tracked by people like feral druids as well as other hunters. A lot of people aren't really quite sure exactly if it works the exact same way still. However, what it used to do is just hide your position on the minimap so people couldn't track you using things like Track Beast. It does have a really large cooldown now, however. It never used to be like this. It now only lasts for 1 minute and has a 3-minute cooldown, although it used to be a permanent spell in which you could toggle on or off whenever you want, so it has been dramatically nerfed. For some people this might be the end of the world, however, I think for a lot of us we're not really gonna, we won't really be bothered too much by this. Just means we'll have to get good or die trying. Next up is our WoWhead Hunter video. There are a few cool glyphs in here, however some of them have got some pretty ugly ending animations or just really makeshift animations. I really feel like Blizzard definitely could have done a lot better with some of these animations. Some of them are really good, but the flares, for example, with Stellar Flare looking exactly the same as the normal flare on the ground, even though it's blue on the top, and the Goblin Flare not exploding at the very bottom, I think would have been a much better touch than it just disappearing into the ground. But without further ado, I'll let you go on with the video. I'm Glyphs, and I hope you enjoyed the video.